This just in, Maclean's magazine is now officially a shameless propaganda organ for the Trudeau Liberals, and it's all about the money, honey. Your money. Check out the November issue of Macleans. How unfortunate that the National Magazine Awards doesn't dole out a trophy for most embarrassing cover, because this one would win hands down. For starters, there's the bright yellow cover line announcing, "You're welcome, Canada." It's right next to a photo of Foreign Affairs Minister Freeland sporting her trademark creepy cat that ate the canary grin. The deck goes on to note, quote, "Like it or not, Freeland just saved the country from economic catastrophe. How she did it, and what comes next for Ottawa's newest political superstar," end quote. Gee, how did the Maclean's art director forget to Photoshop a Supergirl costume on Freeland? What unfolds between the covers is a slobbering love affair regarding the myriad merits of Freeland as she went toe-to-toe against her bullying opponent. It's supposed to be a factual feature, but writer John Geddes seems to evoke the persona of a smitten fanboy penning a love letter to Miss Freeland, lurid prose that wouldn't be too out of place if it had been published in penthouse form. Indeed, at one point, Geddes lustfully notes Freeland's choice of apparel and accessories, writing, quote, "After Trudeau's colorful socks, her sheath dresses and pearls became the most recognizable signature attire in federal politics," end quote. Yikes, get a room already. Geddes goes on to fawn over Freeland's wealth, her education, her former career as a journalist, eventually noting, quote, "None of that would ingratiate her to Trump's crew. Indeed, Freeland exemplifies the liberal global elite Trump was elected to displace. Consider the contrast with his trade czar, U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer, 70, is a gruff, old guard Republican who served in Ronald Reagan's administration in the 1980s, end quote. Oh, like, ooh, the U.S. version of Freeland is this old white male chauvinist pig who has ties to, gasp, Reaganomics? Oh, those poor Yanks. They must be so jealous. They don't have a brainy hip MILF like Freeland negotiating their trade deals, do they now? Geddes wraps up his piece with yet more unintentionally funny prose, quote, "NAFTA has now survived the threat Trump represents, and Freeland has risen as a result. Her next moves, and she's shown a propensity to keep moving, will be among the most closely watched in Canadian politics," end quote. How is the cheerleader Geddes able to pound out such pithy prose on his keyboard, given that he surely has red liberal pom-poms affixed to his wrists? By the way, if you want a counterpoint to the Maclean's propaganda piece, please check out the column by Pierre Poilievre that appeared in the Toronto Sun earlier this week entitled, "Trudeau Gets Trumped." Poilievre is the Conservatives' financial critic, and he correctly notes that Canada got nothing out of the trade deal that we didn't already have. In fact, U.S. tariffs remain on softwood lumber, while Buy American policies shut out Canadian companies from state and municipal projects. Worse, there are now new tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum. As for our disastrous energy file, Poilievre notes that even former New Brunswick Liberal Premier Frank McKenna called the new NAFTA deal a, quote, "glorious day for Donald Trump, who won an endless supply of Canadian oil for decades to come at a deeply discounted price and a transfer of wealth from Canada," end quote. Let's see that Maclean's headline again. "You're welcome, Canada?" Really? So the question arises, what's the motivation for such shameless propaganda? Well, it's the almighty dollar, of course. Maclean's gets about $2 million annually from the federal government, and it wants more. It needs more. Fiscally speaking, Maclean's is a dog with fleas. Its frequency was recently reduced from 52 issues per year to just 12. And its owner, Rogers, has been trying to sell it for months now without success. Can you blame the reluctance of potential buyers? To be in the black, a magazine should have at least 60% advertising pages versus 40% editorial. But look at the May issue of Macleans, which is a typical edition. Of its 76 pages, only 12 are ad pages. And one of those is for an ad for a Rogers product, which means it was a freebie. Gulp! Macleans is increasingly desperate for taxpayer-funded welfare to stay afloat. That means not biting the hand that feeds, capiche? That means sucking up to the Trudeau Liberals with puff pieces. That means appointing Scott Gilmore, the house husband of Environment Minister Catherine McKenna, as an editor-at-large. Yeah, that's right. Way to keep it in the family, guys. Bottom line, that headline shouldn't read, "You're welcome, Canada." It should read, "Thanks a million, suckers." For the Rebel.media, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Hey folks, the Rebel has a new app. Please download that app and take the Rebel with you wherever you go.